affecting our health, our personal life, and our relationships. And now, as it progresses, we get to a place where no matter what we do, we're in conflict. If we talk about it, we get into an argument. And if we don't talk about it, we get into an argument. We're in a lose-lose death spiral, it seems like.
Bed. Love.
Bed.
Bed.
Love.
Beyond.
Beyond.
Bed, love, beyond. Bed, love, beyond.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bed, Love, Beyond, the podcast for the hopeful and the hater in us to discuss sex, love, and whatever's clever with like-minded people like you who are also in limbo with love.
Like us.
Thank you for listening to us on Podbean, iTunes, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, and
Google Play Music.
please rate, review, like, and subscribe to us on any of the devices that you listen to. So today's episode is going to be episode 80. Can you hear me now? A consultation in communication.
Love it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, everybody likes to say that communication is a very big, important.
It's the most important, Martini.
Yes. Oh, okay. Geez. All right, Jen. Yes, it is. It is the most important thing. No, I definitely tout that as well.
I had a guy tell me once that it wasn't important and that there's no proof that it was important, and I literally wanted to just break up with him on the spot.
Well, there you go. You just proved him wrong. So we're definitely going to talk about communication, but also a little twist on that about not talking in forms of communication. And so we have a special guest with us to talk about his practice, Dr. Un, a.k.a. Phil Deluca. How you doing, Phil?
Oh, good. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be able to inform people from my, it's an expose on the communication approaches, express yourself communication approaches. They don't work. They cause more problems than they resolve, which I will show your audience today in very clear terms.
Oh, that's great. That's exactly what we're here to do. So I was looking at your sheet, and you have this thing called Untalk, where you teach people how to stop talking in order to communicate and heal their relationship. So what is Untalk, and why is the other way of communicating wrong?
Okay, well, the current communication approaches, which I call are known as express yourself approach, came out in the 60s and the 70s. And basically, they said, hey, we've got a new way to communicate. Forget the old stuff, and the new way to communicate is talk about things. So, and it boiled down to three basic precepts. Always get in touch with your anger and get it out, because repressed anger is really bad. Number two, always be honest and open about what you really feel and think. No secrets. And three, never go to bed mad at each other, or you're running from the problem. Deal with it now.
Thank you.
They sound familiar?
Yes. All of them sound familiar, yes.
Yeah, they've been incorporated now into the culture, and they're almost like dogma. It's assumed to be settled science. Mm-hmm. And in reality, those are highly destructive to relationships. They destroy people's health. They suck personal peace out of people's lives, and they push people towards high conflict situations, and they end up in they spiral into what I call the dead zone, a place where there's no caring left. So why bother fixing a problem, because I don't love you anymore?
I've been there.
And that's a bad place to be, because at that point it's all over. Turn out the lights and close the door and let's go home to separate houses.
Wow.
So my approach is called, which I perfected over 30 years. It's called Untalk, because I teach people very clearly, very easily, why it's destructive to talk when we're upset, and I teach people not to talk when we are upset. Now that might sound like a simple thing, but the momentum, the inertia that's pushing people to talk when they're upset, especially the talkers. You have the fight-flight response, which we're going to focus on. So you have people, when they get upset, they want to fight. They want to engage the other party. They want to talk. They want to bend or vomit, usually, on the other party. And they want to do it now. And then you have the fighters, and they want to run. Conflict coming, I'm out of here.
Right.
So what I do is I teach people how the fighters how not to run, and the fighters, even more so, how not to talk. Untalk. Don't talk when you are upset. And there are multi-layers that one has to get through in order to, one, convince people or show people that that's destructive, and then two, teach them a skill to short-circuit their natural impulse to talk when they are upset. So what I did was, over a period of 30 years, in experimentation with clientele, my own life, and some other personal health issues I had, I developed an approach that shows why the conventional approaches don't work. It's easy to teach. It's science-based, no psychological gobbledygook or psychobabble. So it's easy to teach. It's easy to grasp. It's easy to implement. It stops conflict in its tracks. I'm talking like right there, right now, not next week, not after 6 months of counseling and thousands of dollars spent. It's a skill I teach. That's why it's called untherapy. It's a skill-based approach that is therapeutic, because when people are in conflict and their relationships and families are dissolving, it's destroying them. They're just imploding. So when I teach them a skill on how to stop that, and they're getting along better, it's therapeutic, because now we feel happier, we're in love, we can talk about issues we were battling over, and so they get better. Their health improves, their mental state, everything. They live longer. So don't talk when you're upset, and here's a skill that's going to be therapeutic in its effect. And I don't know about you, but I've got to learn a skill, a behavior skill, and be psychoanalyzed. It's just one of my little quirks. But
now, Dr. Un, would you mind me asking, do you have a background in psychology at all, or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I'm a clinical social worker.
Okay.
Master's in social work. I've been in private practice in Charlotte, North Carolina area. I've been doing this 40 years.
Nice.
I teach other. I'm an author. I teach other counselors. I'm a trainer. So yes, I have.
Awesome. I'm a licensed social worker as well.
Okay.
So I was just kind of curious, because a lot of times, like they say with communication, I kind of wanted to get your feel on this, is that a lot of times when men or women can't communicate or don't communicate, it has to do with family history of can't communicating or not communicating or brushing things under the rug. So even though you're not taking, as you put it, like a psychobabble approach, do you recognize that there very much is some fundamental things that may have happened in this person's life that are causing them to react this way?
Oh, yes, definitely. We're a product of, traumatic, stressful events in the past will put us in a hypervigilant state,
Mm-hmm.
and cause us to run, cause us to overreact over minutiae and non-events. And, the older we are in relationships we are in and then out of and then in again, the more what's called leftover relationship baggage we have. So, yes, a lot of stuff that's happened in the past influences us now, and that's the negative side. The positive side is that we can actually retrain our body and our mind in order to develop new habits and go in new directions. So that's the great news, not locked into this pattern for the rest of our life. Because I've done it up to now in my life, I'm always going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That the science that's been out the last 10 or 20 years on the fight or flight response and the brain, the new brain research on neuroplasticity shows that doesn't have to be. We can retrain our body, overcome the fight or flight response, and neuroplasticity. I don't know how much of your audience is familiar with that, but basically what it says is that the brain, we thought the brain stopped growing at a certain age, like 18 or 21. Now we know it grows throughout our life. It constantly adapts. And so what it does is it grows new brain neurons. We have 86 billion. It grows new neuron and neuron synapse connections where they talk neurons and expand our knowledge base. So it responds to usage. So if we use it, it grows, that part of our brain, and if we don't use it, it shrinks, and it only takes 4 days for that to start happening. So basically, the new brain science says our thoughts control our brain. We can mold our brain based on our thoughts, and once our brain gets changing, that changes our interaction, our interpretation of events, how our body responds to this, the environment, aka our communication with others and our relationship with that. And that's a powerful thought, idea when you think about it. Just by thinking about something, your brain will respond. They took these two groups of people and they had one group play piano 1 hour a day, these notes 1 hour a day for a week. Then they get a brain scan. They found that their brain grew in a certain place, or thinking brain part, cerebral cortex. It grew in a certain place to a certain degree. Then they took another group that never played the piano or an instrument, and they say, we just want you to think about playing these 3 notes. Just think about it, 1 hour a day for a week. And guess what? Their brain grew in the same place to the same degree as the first group. Isn't that incredible?
No,
so
yeah.
The new brain science says, be careful of what you think, because if you think it, your body believes it will happen, and it will adapt. So if we're caught up in these negative thoughts and we keep ruminating over them, our brain adapts by growing that part of our brain bigger.
I totally agree with that. I wonder myself, like, how easy it is, though, to change somebody's mind or thought process when, like, they're very preconditioned not to want to share just because of whatever their history is, and their whole life they've gone without sharing, and maybe they have, like, a very passive family who doesn't share, then I don't know how you change their thought process. Like, I feel like somebody has to want to change. Like the old joke goes, how many social workers does it take to change the light bulb? And the answer is it doesn't. It depends. The light bulb has to want to change. So I in theory, I think this is awesome, but I just from history of dating more, not necessarily, bringing any of my clients or anything into it, but just history of dating, like, I feel like you would have to find a man, or, well, in my case, a man, that would want to change his behavior, like, that knows that his lack of communication is a problem, or whatever way he does communicate, so.
And I agree totally, and that's the problem I ran into. So here's the scenario. People are having these relationship problems. They're communicating in a very ineffective and conflict-producing way. And so they're trying different things to stop it, and they're all failing, partly because the information they're getting from my peers or our peers is faulty information, which we can go over if you want. And so they're trying it. It fails like it's supposed to, because it's based on 50-year-old science that's just at odds with, and I put science in quotes, information that's at odds with the way, with what we know about the body and the mind now. So they try it, they fail, they feel hopeless, like a failure, worthless. The conflict is increasing, which increases their sense of failure and guilt and rejection and worthlessness. And so they're caught in this negative, reinforcing and downward spiral. And so the first step in those situations is, what I've noticed, it's a 2-step maneuver. One, I have to stop the conflict right then and there, because the conflict is sucking life, love, caring out of the relationship. And sometimes they're right at the line of what I call the dead zone. We talked about that a little while ago. And the next disagreement will push them over. That was a straw that broke the back. I'm out of here.
Right.
So I got to stop the conflict that hour. I see him for an hour and a half, first session, give them this information. I got to stop it right there, because if not, the next argument they have, maybe the next day, might end it. So I have to give them those skills, and in order to, at the same time, I have to talk. I have to talk to the sense of failure and guilt that they feel over everything. This is so hopeless. Everything we try fails. So why bother? So I have to talk to both of those. I have an hour with them, and I have to give them a reason to try, a hope, and I have to give them a skill that will stop that conflict when they walk out of that session right then and there. So that's what I did over 30 years. I perfected it. I kept going over it. There's too much fact. There's too much psychological stuff they can't understand. Simplify. The other thing that I integrated it with is holistic health. It's a big holistic health. People want to get healthy now. So while I was working on trying to help them with their relationships and figuring a way out of their relationship downward spiral and communicating better to get out of there, I started having some health concerns, mainly premature memory loss and rheumatoid arthritis, and both of them were spreading quick. So they were very progressive. So I started researching alternative health and saw, it's really interesting, the science behind illness, which is all illness is related to inflammation of the body, from depression to diabetes to Alzheimer's, which they're calling now type 3 diabetes. It's all inflammation-based. And I was like, wow, that's the same mechanism that occurs when we argue. It's the same exact process, one feeds the other. So I came up with an approach that fixes both at the same time. Calms your relationship down, helps you communicate, and at the same time reduces inflammation so your health improves. Here's some interesting information people don't know. They get your anger out. Well, science shows that episodic anger releases, where you have this anger, you let it out, for 2 hours after that release, increases heart attack and stroke rate 500%.
500?
But that's with a healthy person. If you have heart disease or heart problems, even hidden, it goes up astronomically from there. And if you increase this, where you're in this constant situation, it increases heart attack and stroke rate up to 2,000% and cancer 3,000%. It lowers our quality of life, premature aging from 9 to 17 years. We die younger, increases hypertension, autoimmune diseases, Alzheimer's rates, which is already growing exponentially. It increases body fat around the waist for the men and buttocks for the women, which is the worst kind. And another interesting thing is 95%, most people don't know this, but 95% of our serotonin, the feel-good chemical, is produced in our stomach, not our mind. 95%. And it's produced by the bacteria in our stomach. So that's another science field that's burgeoning, microflora in our gut. And what we know now is that we have 100 trillion bacteria, fungi, stuff floating around our stomach that we need to live. And because what we eat food, is they break down the food and release chemicals, vitamin D3, K, other stuff that we then absorb. So we need them. But the proper balance is 85 good bacteria and 15 bad. And the good bacteria produce the serotonin. Well, under stress, the body turns from alkaline, normal, good, to acidic. The good bacteria die off. This is a growth medium for the bad bacteria. They thrive. They get hungry. They send a message to the brain, chemicals, that says, feed me. That's why, and then we have crazy, what feeds them? Junk food, sugars, starches, greasy food.
Right.
That's why we get under stress. We reach for comfort foods because we're feeding the bacteria that's driving that.
Right.
The problem is the good bacteria is dying off. So our serotonin level is evaporating, and we feel worse. So we get a boost. We eat these sugary foods. We get a boost of insulin, hypoglycemic. It drops down after a period of time. We feel more depressed. And so what do? We reach for more junk food, which then sugars and stuff, it then affects our mood. We're losing sleep now. I don't know about you, but when I lose sleep a day or two, I don't even like being around me. I'm in such a bear of a mood.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So now sleep disturbance is making us more conflict-driven. We provoke an argument with the other party. We feel worse. I eat more crap food. Maybe I started adding alcohol to it. I don't sleep. I've got these negative thoughts preoccupying, going around and around my head. My brain is adapting by growing, our survival brain, which is behind our ears, and our front thinking, calm, loving brain is shrinking. And now it becomes our default setting. And now we're in this feedback and self-escalating loop. It's affecting our health, our personal life, and our relationships. And now, as it progresses, we get to a place where no matter what we do, we're in conflict. If we talk about it, we get into an argument. And if we don't talk about it, we get into an argument. We're in a lose-lose death spiral, it seems like. So I came up with a way to cut through that that's simple, quick, easy, and can turn the situation around.
No, that's good. And I saw in your promo that you list yourself as a psychotherapy disruptor, relationship healer, author, speaker, but the one thing that was interesting to me was guinea pig. So you said you developed your therapy over 30 years, but explain what exactly happened to you that you needed to develop Untalk.
Well, when I got out of grad school in the 70s, which means I'm old, but I have a lot of experience, which is good. I was helping facilitate communication, express yourself, be honest and open, and things were exploding in front of my face. And I'm like, there's something wrong here. I'm too new at doing this. I can't be getting wrong. I'm just following what I was taught. And so I'd lie awake at night looking at the ceiling saying, what's going on? These people are imploding and there's nothing I can do about it. And then I started using them in my own life, and I find my relationships were imploding. And so what I started doing was I started tweaking with my own relationship. I became my own guinea pig. Let me try this. This didn't work. Let me try this. Oh, this worked better. And so I started tweaking it in my own life, and then I got it one day for one period in my life. And then I started integrating it with my clientele. And then I started tweaking it in with my clientele into this works, but I can make it more efficient. I got to stop the conflict. It's taking too long. It's too complex. They're not understanding it. They can't get it. They can't grasp it. I'm not explaining it clear enough. So for the next 20 or so years, I just kept hammering away at that. What's keeping them from grasping? Oh, let's see. There's a new thing I just discovered. They're feeling hopeless. And like a failure, so they don't even want to try. Why bother another approach? We've been through 3 counselors. We've read 15 different books. So I had to stopping the conflict down, but I had to talk to the feeling of hopelessness and why bother starting it. So, and then I started integrating as my health deteriorated, and I experimented with that, and I started integrating the health stuff, and I put it all together into a one nice, neat package that, that helps people that had been, haven't gone to a dozen counselors before, and, they walk out on my first session and they feel renewed hope, and they're getting this conflict under control. So that's why I call it Untalk. I teach them how to talk, how not to talk when they're upset, because a lot of it is timing. You have to know when you're in a place to talk, and at the same time, you have to know when your other party is in a place to talk or not talk. Because what happens, here's your dilemma. This is a dilemma people face. So you're coming home, you're minding your own business, you're feeling good, and you open the door, and you're like, uh-oh, Houston, we got a problem. Why you got a problem? Right? Because the other party's upset. How do you know that? Well, they got that look. They're giving you the eagle eye. They're quiet. They're bringing up topics that are going to be problems because they've been so in the past. So now you've got a problem because they want to talk. But they don't want to talk to resolve issues. They want to talk to get into an argument.
Right.
So now what do you do? Because if you talk, they're going to twist everything you say into pretzels and clobber you with it to pull you into the argument. If you don't talk about it, they're going to escalate in order to pull you in. If you try, if you say to them, if you try try to talk through it. Now, stay calm. You know, we said we wouldn't get angry like this. I am calm. They shout at you. If you talk logically through it,
right.
They twist and distort and manipulate what you say. If you reach the place where you say, okay, this is unproductive, and you try to leave, what do? Well, if you go into the other room, they'll follow you in most of the time. So 5% of the time, they won't follow you. The other 95% of the time, they will, I found out. If you close the door, what do? They come right in. So there's another 5% that'll work. You can keep them out until it calms down. The other 90% will come right through. If you lock the door, well, that'll work for another 5%, and the other 85%, what'll happen? Well, they'll get in the car, they'll ram through the wall, and while you're pinned in the rubble, they'll finish the argument. Right? Doesn't that sound familiar? A little exaggeration.
Right.
But they'll pound on the door, they'll scream through the door. So if you come out and you say, okay, I'm leaving the house, what do? They threaten you. If you leave the house, it'll be all over. The doors will be locked. You'll be divorced like that low-life mother of yours who's been divorced 5 times. And then you feel guilty because, why? You're running from the problem. Where did we get that idea that you're running from it? You're just trying to run from a disaster. They got it from these communication approaches that, like a funnel, they push people into dealing with problems at the worst possible time and in the worst possible way. So you're in a lose-lose situation. If I talk, we get into it, and if I don't talk, we're going to get into it anyway, because they're not going to stop till we argue.
Right.
Welcome to the world of conventional communication approaches. They are a relationship suicide. That's what I found. And, so I developed techniques and ways to show people clearly why this is what they need, what's going on, and what to do differently, and how to just chill it out. So that's why it's called Untalk and Untherapy. I teach people when and how to talk to get through versus to hit a wall and bounce off of it. And it's a skill. I'm going to teach you a skill that's going to be therapeutic in its effect, because all studies show that people that are happy in relationships are healthier, more loving, they live longer, and they have a much more contented and higher happiness quota. So it's therapeutic in its effect. And in the process, then you deal with issues that come up, such as trauma issues, PTSD, unresolved birthing, childhood issues, parenting issues, and stuff like that.
All right. I saw on your page that you claim that 3 out of 4 marriages end after seeing a traditional therapist. Why is that?
Yeah, there's a really, I think it's actually even higher. It's probably closer to 85%. That's a really high level for any treatment.
That is high.
My argument is, a lot of it is, it's just some couples are not going to work it out. They're not into each other. A lot of times there's alcohol and drugs involved, and as long as you don't give them up, including in my approach, you're not going to fix anything.
Mm-hmm.
But some of it, a lot of it is, I think, what I've learned is just these communication approaches, which are dogma now. I mean, everybody uses them. They just don't work. They cause more problems than less. So there's a lot of different issues, but on the subject we're talking.
Is it just that you don't talk when you're mad, or do you just not talk ever?
No, it's just when you're mad.
Because there's a lot of times, like in my relationship, where I feel like I have to talk. Like,
at the moment?
Like I'm just a constant communicator. I mean, I think even before I went to school for social work, I just kind of was just always needed to like express what I was thinking or feeling to somebody. It's like somebody needs to know.
Well,
like,
let me give you an example.
All right, so I guess like right now in my relationship, the biggest conversation piece is like us moving forward and like moving in together and stuff like that. And there's times where like it hasn't been, we don't talk about it. Like we don't talk about like what the future looks like, and that bothers me. And like he's like, there is a future, don't worry, like I want one with you, yada yada. But like we don't have those conversations, and I feel like generally couples are like, yay, I'm so excited, I can't wait to this or I can't wait to that, and we don't have those conversations. So when like it goes a while and we don't have them, like I'll kind of bring something up or like kind of like do like a temperature check and see where he is with everything. But like 9 times out of 10 that conversation frustrates him because he doesn't like talking about it.
Yeah, he's a fighter, so you have to
Oh
fight
yeah,
him.
he's out.
Yeah,
And,
he's a fighter.
but when I tell him like, okay, like if this is the way things are going to be in the relationship, then maybe this isn't the relationship for me. Then you know he'll have the conversation. But you could tell he's like very angry about it. Like he doesn't want the relationship to end, and he's doing what he can to work on it. But at the same time, like I'm not mad, and he's not mad yet. But like if I ask him about something, then he's like, oh, you know, why do we have to talk about this? Why can't you just get off my back? And I'm just like, I just want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to, like, fight about it. I just want to talk about it. And, like, I don't know if, like...
What to do about it.
Yeah,
right?
not just what to do about it. It was like, I could not bring it up just to avoid him getting mad. But then, like, I feel like I'm being stifled, you know?
Yes, that's a classic dilemma you have with a flighter.
Yes.
If I bring it up, they run. They don't want to deal with it. You know, that's old news. It was, 2 hours ago. That's old news. Yeah, but it's big news. You had an affair. You lied to me. You stole. So it's not, it's irrelevant. Like
Right.
somebody didn't wash the dishes the right way.
Right.
So if you don't bring it up, if you bring it up, they're not going to talk about it. And if you don't bring it up, they're perfectly happy with never bringing it up. And so then you never have any closeness because you never get anything resolved. There's
Right.
elephant in the room that nobody can talk about or willing to. Yeah, that's a really common, that's a really bugaboo, can be a bugaboo of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's potentially fixable because that's really common in a lot of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want, I could talk about what's going on with that and how to address it.
Okay. I mean, just as an example, I guess. Because, that's, I usually, like, on the podcast, I usually try to give, like, real life examples because making things up kind of, I don't know, as creative as I am, I'm just kind of like, it's just easier to give real life examples. But hopefully somebody can, like, relate to the situation and apply it to themselves,
Yeah, I like to do real life examples.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's going on? Well, what do you know about the fight or flight response? 99% of people say either nothing or I know when we feel threatened, we either fight or flee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But actually, and that's accurate, but there's a lot of processes that kick in once that fight or flight response starts. And, there's 4 changes that occur. So let's take the brain. What happens with the brain is we have frontal brain thinking, cerebral cortex, people know that's called gray matter, frontal cortex, in the front of our head, or skull inside the front. It's higher learning, abstract thinking, music, spirituality, love, all comes from there. And then what we share with the lower life forms, like the crocodiles and lizards and chickens, is the fight or flight response of the amygdala, we'll call lizard brain, and it's the 2 almond-shaped organs behind our ears.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And in between those is a switching unit that switches blood from the front to the back, depending on the situation. It's called the hypothalamus. It's like a train coming and it switches the tracks to move one train out of the way while the other one's barreling down. Then it switches it back and the first train gets back on the track. Okay. And that switch goes between the front thinking brain and this back brain, which is dark, bleak, paranoid, and only interested in survival at the moment. Nothing else. Mm-hmm. That's what it was made for. Now what happens is stress hits, and by the way, so stress hits, we get anxious about something. The back brain now says, hey, it comes alive. We got a potential survival issue here. I need more blood. So hypothalamus switches the blood now, starts switching it from the front brain to the back brain. And as stress keeps rising, it keeps increasing it, and in extreme cases, we lose up to 75% of the blood in our front brain. You know, a few weeks ago, I fell asleep on my arm, and when I woke up, it was dead. You know, no blood flow. I'm sure you all have happened to that to a limb.
Of course.
Yeah.
So mentally, I couldn't move the arm because it didn't have any blood to cause it to respond. And a few minutes later, so I lifted it up. It was like, man, this thing gained 100 pounds. Damn. I could work out with this arm. And then, right? I'm sure you've had that with a leg that you fell asleep on.
Right.
You're like dragging dead weight because it is dead.
Yeah.
It doesn't respond to anything. It's barely surviving, avoiding gangrene. And so I moved it over to the other arm, the other side of the couch, and I started massaging it, and blood started flowing, the tingling, and then I could mentally move the arm, all right? And that's what happens to the two parts of our brain and our body. So the blood starts getting switched from front to back, and as it does, we lose front brain functioning, and the blood gets rerouted to the back, which becomes like on steroids. It becomes like the Hulk.
Mm.
So now in the front we have Pee Wee Herman, and in the back we got the Hulk. Well, who's going to win? Who's going to dominate? All right. So now these two brains are connected to the autonomic nervous system to 90% of our organs: heart, lung, liver, and so they're getting jacked up now. Blood pressure's increasing, heart's pumping harder. We're taking in more oxygen. Our lungs expand up to 1,200%. You might have noticed when you get upset, you start breathing. Why is that? Because the body, the back brain now, is proceeding a death struggle, a physical altercation to the death. Now, one of the things about the back brain is it's very bad at perceiving real from imagined, big from small threats. So what it does is that it's safe than sorry. So it 99% of the time it overreacts because if death is imminent, survival is imminent, you don't get a second chance. So I better overreact than underreact.
Right.
So which means we react to the same way that somebody taking the parking spot we were patiently waiting for to being attacked by a bear or a T-Rex. No difference. So now, and then you have what's called lizard brain hijack. If you've ever been under stress and had this internal dialogue going on in your head, you can actually hear it. Front brain saying, now stay calm, you know, it's going really bad, it's going to really end bad if you do something stupid. Back brain saying, come on, no, act right now, you got right. Don't take that crap. You have to have that conversation in your head going on.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, as the blood keeps getting rerouted, front brain weakens, back brain, lizard brain gets stronger, and then you have what's called lizard brain, what I call lizard brain hijack. It takes over the brain. And now people say, you know you're at that point because people will say, it's like, when I get to this point, it's like words coming out of my mouth. I can't stop them. It's like I'm watching a film of my life, and I'm helpless to do anything about it. You ever been in that place?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real common situation. That's called, I call that lizard brain hijack. And so what happens now is it has hijacked us, and that brain is in control. And here's how this plays out. So I have this piece of paper in my hand, okay?
Yeah.
It's a white piece of copy of paper. And now I'm putting on these green sunglasses. That represents my old brain perception lens, because when this thing, that survival brain perception lens, when it's dark, bleak, paranoid, it affects our mood, makes them sullen, our attitude, we get provocative, and our thoughts get scrambled. Okay? So I'm putting these on now, and everything in the room is green.
Yeah.
You know? Even your skin color. I look at you two and I say, hey, you need to go to the doctor. You got green skin. Get there right away. And you'll be like, what are you talking about? Because for me, that looks real. So let's go back to our piece of paper. So let's play along with me here. So you're seeing things through front brain very clear. This white piece of paper looks white. I'm convinced it's green.
Right.
Right? So let's have a conversation. So I say to you, hey, what's the problem? I sent you to the store, or you volunteered to go to the store. You know I need copy paper to print this document out because my boss needs it, and he's a real jerk. And now you come back with green copier paper. What? How can I print this document on green copier paper? So what do you say back? You say, that's not green, that's white.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I say, now I'm already paranoid, suspicious. I think you're out to harm me. And so what do I think? Gosh, that's green? That's white? It looks green to me.
Yeah.
What do you think, I'm a fool? Are you lying to me? Or you think I'm a fool and I don't know green when I see green? And so I keep pushing on you. And I say, I'm not the fool here. You are. Now, let's say you start getting upset, right? Because I'm provoking you. Blood reroutes, front to back brain. The lizard brain takes over. And I'm going to give you blue glasses now to represent your mood change.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at you and I say, so tell me one more time. Do you really think this is white? Well, what are you going to say back? No, that's not white. Where are you getting that from? That's blue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, blue? Before you said it was white? Now you say it's blue? What's wrong with you? Only a fool would think that. That's something stupid like your mother would say. Now there's a fool. And then you come back with, what are you bringing my mother in this for? She's been dead 20 years. She loved you like a son. She didn't love anybody but herself. She's a loser. And now we're talking about your mother, a totally irrelevant
Sounds
topic.
like my parents.
She's been dead 20 years, right? She's been dead 20 years, and she loved me like a son. And I'm attacking her.
Yeah.
The only mother I really had. And then what happens is, we get calmer. We go back to our default setting. Blood reroutes like that arm. Blood comes back to the arm, the limb, and it wakens up. And now we feel regret, awareness, regret, guilt, shame. The lens comes off. And we look at this white piece of paper, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't green. It wasn't blue. It was white. I feel like a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, of course.
And that's the process. What happens when we're upset? That brain is in control of us. And our judgment, our perception, our interpretation, and our assumptions are all warped. So now we're communicating. We're telling you, I'm getting angry over something that doesn't exist, so I got to express it. Keeping it in is bad. I have to be honest and open about what I'm feeling and thinking. And it ain't good. I can assure you of that. Nothing in this brain is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to deal with it now, right? Or I'm running from the problem. I have to deal with it before I cool off and saner minds prevail. So, what I teach people is that's a bad time to do it. If I'm in lizard brain, I'm going to do it in a provocative way because this brain seeks conflict. It's conflict seeking, provocative. If you're in a lizard brain, you're not receptive to communication because that's why everything we say they twist and distort. That's why we say calm down. They scream at you, I am calm. You're the one who's not calm because they can't see it.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen somebody who was calm 1 minute, laugh, loving, and then something happens and it's like an alien enters their body, and within a split second they're hostile, antagonistic, they have an attitude, and they're looking at you like you're the devil incarnate.
Yeah.
And it took 1/10 of 1 second. And then something happens, they laugh, and they flip out of it again, and they're back to being their real self, their nice self, front brain. And then something happens again, real minor, and within a split second, they're back to the alien that enters their body.
Mm-hmm.
That's the two brains, and that's the transformations that's occurring within us and then in our environment that we're interacting with. So what I teach people to do is be able to identify when you're in that brain, and here's the skill to control yourself so you don't talk in a conflict-seeking way. Untalk. Don't talk when you're that mad because it's just going to make it worse. Or if the other party is in that mode, don't talk through that. And so then the question becomes, so what do we do with it? Well, there's a lot of things that work that the other party's mad. Science shows us that there's a lot of things that we can do to get through the other party's lizard brain. That's non-talking. Talking, science shows us it is the worst thing you could possibly do. So the advice given over the last 50 years, talk it out, is the worst possible thing we can do. That's why it just blows these things up. The science says if you touch is really nice. It's like, see, the front and back brain are connected to all of these body functions through what's called the vagus nerve. That's called Latin for wandering. It weaves around the body and touches heart, the liver, skin, all of that. Well, those brains are connected to that. And when you stimulate the vagus, the front brain, that stimulates the vagus nerve to calm the situation down, to calm the body down. Because when you're upset, that's called the fight or flight response. But when we're, the flip side of that, front brain is called the rest and digest. And so when this brain is active, it releases chemicals like water on the fire. The fight or flight response is the inflammation of the body. Inflames. And so the feel-good chemicals, oxytocin, dopamine, and others, are actually anti-stress. They calm, they eliminate it's like water on the fire. It's chemicals on the dopamine, the adrenaline, and some of the other chemicals. And there are a lot of non-talking ways to do that. Touch, calming music, deep breathing, spirituality. There's a whole bunch of things that will drain exercise. These are all will drain off these chemicals and get through to the other party. Here's an example. So I was working on a manuscript to my book, got up early, 2 hours, and I hit a button, and the whole thing disappeared off my screen. And I'm like in a panic. I got to go to my office. This was great stuff. I can't reproduce it. I don't have time to reproduce it. And so I go to my wife. I said, honey, you're good with this stuff. I'm a computer idiot. Come over here. And so she comes over, and she's talking to me. Did you try this? Did you try this? And I'm getting more upset. And instinctively, she pulled back, saw what was happening, and she stroked my bald head, and she kissed it and said very tenderly, "I love you, honey," and walked off. Anyway, I found the program and rebooted it. I saved it in 5 different places and sent it to her just in case I lost it again.
Right.
And then I went over to her after that and I said, "Honey, thank you for helping me." And she said, "I didn't do anything." I said, "Honey, when you kissed my head, stroked it, and said you love me, thing we could have done. Why? Loving words, a calm voice, those all stimulate the front brain, which then releases the chemicals to calm that. They basically get us out of that fight or flight response. Here's another example. You want a real life example? The other day, she was upset over something, and we were trying to have this conversation at breakfast before I went to the office, and everything I was saying wasn't getting through. And so I got up from the breakfast table. I went over to her and I hugged her, touch. I whispered into her ear, "Honey, thank you for your love, gratitude. Your love is the most important thing to me. Thank you for loving me so deeply." And the whole thing lasts. So talking does not work. It makes, just observe it in your own life. When somebody's upset, the more you talk about it, what happens? They get more rebellious, more oppositional. Because that's one of the characteristics of this fight or flight response. Let's go down the characteristics real quick. It's volatile, irrational, 101 equals 27, 1933. It's short-term oriented. It only wants gratifying at the moment. Doesn't care about future consequences. It's oppositional. Oppositional, look it up in my dictionary, has 3 meanings. Conflict-seeking, provocative, and it's, quote, taking an anti-stance. So in this brain, all we're capable of doing is defending against anything coming at us, even if we agree with it. It's like somebody would say, "Here's $1 million. Hey, I don't want $1 million. And they're like, later, "What the heck did I say? I just gave up $1 million." Because we're automatically going to oppose anything coming at us, even the words meant to help us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also black and white. You never. It's catastrophic, end of the world. We have to be right, win, dominant, be in control. If survival is at stake, you better be right. You better control the environment, because one mistake, you're wrong one time, is somebody else's meal. You know?
Yeah.
So, and we lose awareness because we're so acutely focused on the other party. So our hearing is very selective. And later on, you say, "Did you know you said this and that?" No, I never said that. I don't remember any of that. So we lose memory and awareness. And of course, the front brain, thinking genius brain, is the opposite. Volatile, calm, short-term, long-term. Let's do it best in the long run. Irrational, rational. 1 and 1 equals 2. I don't know where you're getting all this 2793 from, but 1 and 1 equals 2. Oppositional, conflict-seeking. Cooperative, conflict resolving. So you've got a problem here, Houston. One upset person is seeking conflict. The other one is seeking conflict resolution. Well, in a verbal discussion, talking it through, who do you think's going to, quote, win? That's why they twist everything around into pretzels. They don't want resolution. We don't want resolution when we're upset. This survival brain is in control, and it's made for conflict. That's what it's made for. It's incapable of anything else. It has no purpose other than to protect you from a predator. And the other party at that moment is seen as a predator out to do them harm. Maybe even make them a meal, their next meal.
Right.
So they have to protect themselves from you, who was a minute ago, a second ago, a loving partner, who now is a predator, the enemy, the foe that they have to defend themselves against. And a frontal assault, like coughing, trying to get through, is the worst. My science shows, my experience shows, the science shows, it's the worst possible way to a head-on approach is the worst possible way to get through that brain. And there are a lot of other ways, but that is not the way. So, I view my approach as, I call it communication of the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Would you drive a car from that was 50 years old? It's got no airbags, no seatbelt, no automatic, no GPS. It's got mono radio, and it's a dangerous thing to drive. I wouldn't get in a car that has no airbags.
Right.
So why would you go for a life trip with your family in a car from the 60s when you can go make the same trip in one from 2017? Which one would you choose? I've basically updated the communication model and brought it into the 21st century. To use an analogy, we don't need to use leeches anymore. We have medication and antibiotics.
Right.
Enough with the leeches. Get rid of it already. So, that's a thumbnail kind of overview. Now, I would like to say that if people would want to go to my site, I'm going to shortly be having a free webinar, 45-minute free webinar, in which I'm going to show this in detail. I'm going to have a lot of comic strips. I'm going to wear a rubber lizard mask to make my point. I've got tattoos on different parts of my head, and I'm going to flash up there and show the different parts of the brain. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be informative, and I'm going to leave people, which I can leave you right now, with what to do if this is a problem. And I also have on there a dead zone quiz, where you can take a quiz, find out how close you are to the dead zone, sign up for the webinar, and then get some help for this problem if it's a concern in your relationship.
That'd be awesome.
Where can people find that?
Well, my website, www.letstalkmorelove.com.
Okay.
You can also get on my Facebook. I've got some other. I just linked to another interview yesterday that explains this also in detail from a little different perspective. So if you go on my Facebook site, Untalk Therapy, you can view that almost hour-long tape, which I go into a lot more detail.
I just found you and liked you on Facebook.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I'm going to be uploading a lot of stuff now. I'm starting to develop that.
Awesome.
And, I'm writing a book called Less Talk, More Love, 5 Steps Back to Love, and Out of the Dead Zone. So, which I'm going to go into. A lot more
when is that? Do you know when that's gonna come out?
The webinar.
Well, they're shooting for
the book.
2018.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to have an online course too. It's going to explain. It's going to be like 8 sessions. Be like 2 or 3 hour, 3-hour sessions. Be 3 hours over a period of 8 weeks. I'm going to have worksheets and walk people through this. And really, that's all you really need. You don't need my approach. It's the most cost-effective approach out there. You don't need hours of therapy. You don't have to spend $200 an hour. This thing, I developed it over many years because I truly hurt seeing families get destroyed. People's health getting destroyed. The crying, the despair, sense of failure. So I wanted to, I spent my last 30 years trying to fix that, trying to come up with a system to fix that. And it works. Not in all cases, of course. Nothing works for everything, but it works in a lot of places. Current systems fail. And so I'm extremely ecstatic to bring it to people and keep a few more families intact that wouldn't be. Kids that have both parents at home. People who aren't turning to suicide or drugs in order to deal with the despair they feel in their crumbling relationship. Anyway, that's kind of my own personal stuff.
No, that's thank you for your service, and that's a very commendable thing that you're trying to do and try to help people out. That's really good. We need more people like you out there.
Well, thank you for having me on. Anything else you'd like to know? This is an opportunity to share these ideas, and you might have some of your viewers that say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. That's why we had you on, so because there's some people that might be out there that don't know what to do about their situation, don't know how to resolve it. So this might be something, and we'll definitely put your information on our page so they can reach you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
No, not a problem. All right. Thank you, Mr. Phil Deluca, a.k.a. Dr. Un. Thank you for being on the show.
I will be following you and, seeing what comes next.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both.
Not a problem. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right. So, yeah, that was real extensive. And, I mean, definitely all those things that he was saying is pretty sound. Like, sometimes we just go apeshit crazy for, no reason. And we just need to just calm down for a bit because, other than getting into more trouble with our significant other, now there's health risks as well that we don't even know that happens, like high blood pressure, all that stuff, it goes up really quick. So we just need to calm down, settle down, love our significant other, literally say I love you, even though it might be weird, what? I'm having a fight with you and you saying that you love me? Yeah, I'm trying to diffuse the situation. We'll talk about it in 3 minutes. Okay, because you're wilding out right now. But yeah, so to the people out there, does this relate to you in any way? Do you want this dude's help, or do you want our help? We're here for you as well. You can email us at bedlovebeyond@gmail.com. You can go to our website, www.bedlovebeyond.com, and you can see Phil Deluca's information and some articles about this subject. You can give us a call or text us at 201-862-8BED. That is 201-862-8233. You can go to our Facebook, www.facebook.com/bedlovebeyond, and talk to our fans about this subject, about this episode, and many other things, many other episodes. And you can follow us at bedlovebeyond on Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube. Do you have a song of the day?
Yeah, I was trying. But I couldn't think because all I kept thinking about was Water Runs Dry. We don't even talk anymore.
I mean, it's a great song. We can use that.
Let's use it. I know it's not really there, but
So Water
y'all get
Runs
the
Dry
point.
by Boyz II Men. Great song. Yeah, really good song.
Don't even say I love you no more. Okay, I can't sing. And I'm like hella tired today. So, Dr. Un was really cool. I'm gonna like follow his stuff and like see what he's saying and make my boyfriend watch a webinar.
Yeah, make sure you don't get anywhere near that dead zone that Dr. Un was talking
No,
about.
I think I was there at my last relationship.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much the only reason why we broke up is because we don't hate each other.
No.
I think we just like, you know, we both hit that zone. We're just like, there's nothing left to say. Like, because anytime we would talk, like, it would just be negativity to each other.
Right.
And then, like, of course, like, when clearer heads prevailed, we had actual, like, in-depth, serious conversations. It's like, oh, we could have fixed this, but, like, we were both kind of, like, already damaged from the war.
Yeah.
That we were kind of like, high five, we're friends, bye. So, yeah, it's a bad place to be.
I hear you. All right, well, that is the end of the show. I'm Martini.
I am still Jennifer.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.